Hey guys, summer is officially here. We have our first couple 100-degree days back to back. And I got a couple phone calls from some of my growers wondering what can we do with heat stress? We're having some problems already with our leaves starting to sag. What can we do to mitigate some of these problems? So I want to share with you guys just 5 things you got to keep in mind when you start talking about heat stress. Number one, respiration time. All right, respiration time is the most critical factor when you start talking about heat stress. Your plants want to grow throughout the day. Whenever they get too hot, they start to shut down. Your roots are pumping water up into the plant, and your plants will respirate, sweat that water out. All right. Whenever they get too hot, they start to shut down. For grapevines, that's when their internal temperature gets to around 95 degrees. Most of your plants here in the Central Valley are going to be between 92 and 98 degrees. Now, if you can keep that internal temperature below 95 degrees, you're going to continue to grow the entire day. All right. So the second thing, how do we mitigate that? Solutes. The solutes is just a fancy name for all the nutrients that are in your plant. If you can increase the number of solutes or the nutrients that are in your plant, you can. It's like a radiator fluid. So it buffers the temperature and helps you to go and to respirate longer into the day. Probably the most important one, and the third thing on our list is potassium. If you keep your potassium levels up and you have a good hydrolyzed potassium that is available to your plant and it's flowing throughout the plant, it's going to really help to keep the system working and to keep you respirating throughout the day. The fourth thing, you want thicker stems, thicker leaves, thicker cell walls. The most important thing for this is don't over nitrify. Whenever you put too much nitrogen down, especially on grapes, you're going to wind up with you're going to wind up with thin leaves. Sorry, you're going to wind up with thin leaves, thin cells, and you're going to wind up with a yellow growth. So not only is that not going to withstand the heat during the summer, it also makes you more susceptible to insect damage. Insects look for that over nitrified growth that's a little bit thin and that it has simple proteins that they can digest. Whenever you use the correct form of nutrition, they're not attracted to that anymore. You'll have fewer pest problems. And the fifth thing is the biofilm. If you have a good biofilm on your leaves, it basically acts like a cleaner for your leaf and keeps it running as efficiently as possible. Your leaves are like solar panels. So if you have clean solar panels, those are going to work much more efficiently than ones that are all dirty. I'm not a fan of the white stuff that people throw on it. It kills my heart every time I see that on a plant because it's killing your plant. You're suffocating your plant during the day. Your leaves are like solar panels. They really are. So if you go and you throw a whole bunch of white paint on your solar panels at home, do you think they're going to work efficiently? No, you're shutting off all of the opportunity to grow during the day. So that is the key. You increase respiration time. You got to increase your solutes. Make sure you have a good potassium level. Grow thick leaves with thick cell walls. Don't over nitrify and have a good biofilm. If you can put all 5 of those together, you're working with nature and you're going to have good results.